Good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports and the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer standing by in Northwest Arkansas. I'm Randy Rainwater from the capital city. Good afternoon, Mr. Rick Schaeffer.
Well, good afternoon, Randy Rainwater. Here we go to another Friday. People love Fridays. People love weekends because every Friday in July and the weekends in July, we're getting closer to August when all these Razorback football fans can start getting excited again, right?
57 days and counting. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
57 days and counting until the start of the season. It will begin with Western Carolina if you're an Arkansas Razorback fan. So that would be in Little Rock, which, how long has it been, Rick, since Arkansas opened in Little Rock?
Oh, I think it was back when Chad Morris was coach and they beat Florida A&M. And when we were talking about it on Monday, Marcus Elliott was talking about how ridiculous it was to be excited to beat Florida A&M. So what would that be? 20, 18, 19, somewhere in there? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 years ago. Yeah.
I will never forget the next Monday's show. Marcus Elliott basically tore into any optimism anybody had after that game.
And he proved to be true. Yeah, thank you.
He was right. Can you believe it? And of course, Marcus, has he even agreed? I think this year, Trey Biddy has him convinced that Arkansas's defense finally can be better. But then when you point out they were 131st in the nation in pass defense last year,
where do you go?
Be worse.
Yeah, where do you go?
Be worse.
Where do you go?
It's impossible to be worse. They have not added anybody to Division I this year. That's still how many teams there are. So you can't be worse. So if you're 130th, you're better. And I think they'll be better.
Oh my gosh! If it's only one spot improvement, that's not improvement. Rick, sometimes it takes life's simple lessons to humble you, and I mean it's very humbling when you realize Morning Mayhem, the zone, out of bounds, all they got to do is snap their fingers and boom, there's food. I had to listen to 3 hours of out of bounds. Chris came in from Rock and Roll Sushi and brought all this food. Do you think he brought anything? Now, Kyle, I guess I can get a semi credit because Kyle is on the board and Kyle was part of the group that feasted on Rock and Roll Sushi.
I actually didn't get any. I got here too late.
No. RJ scarfed it all.
RJ had 16, I believe.
Oh, it was that was embarrassing to listen to that. But that's okay. That's okay. I mean, it was so nice the other night when Travis from Eat My Catfish brought food over. So it has happened.
Hey,
Tacos for Life brought some food in. I
mentioned that to Mark Samuelson today. I had a
nice
conversation with him, and he says, "Gosh, that was great. We got a lot of mileage out of that." And I said, "But you have to remember, anybody that brings Randy free food is on his A list." So that was good. That's right. So you missed the sushi today.
Yeah, I missed it.
So you gonna complain about it for 3 hours?
Probably.
He's wearing a Rock and Roll Sushi hat.
I think I'm going to take it off, Kyle. I think I'm going to take it off. If you're not, if I'm not going to get no, I think I'll take here. Okay.
Randy,
I don't want to scare the viewers if you're watching now, but there's the old bald head. So
I'm guessing that any day you went on the air and said, "God, I wish I had some Sonic." Sonic could probably bring it to you. They're your buddies. So this complaint about no free food. I mean, come on. Gee whiz.
Well, Shotgun Dan, if you happen to be listening to Supreme Pizza, U.S. Pizza Company, if you're listening to Supreme Pizza, I am buying. My wife, my beautiful bride, Carrie, sent me a text message. So I guess she's trying to head me off at the pass about this whining for food. And listening to this commercial, listening to different commercials that air on these airways. David did one the other day for Edwards, and part of the commercial is at the end. This week's special. I love spaghetti, so Carrie sent me a text saying I'm stopping and I've got you spaghetti. So I am very happy about that. That I'll have to wait 3 hours and I won't have anything that will be filling up the space that will be reserved for the spaghetti, like with sushi from Rock and Roll Sushi. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Now, are you going to be watching? This is one of those rare occasions.
Oh, you got the number 1 draft pick.
Yeah,
And-
6 o'clock tonight.
And Nick Smith's playing on the other team.
Yeah.
Well, if it's at 6, then we can pop it on while we're talking. What station is it on?
ESPN.
ESPN.
I'm
Wow.
trying to answer Trey Biddy.
Okay.
He said, any way I can come on at 5:30. So Trey, let me get a hold of Kevin, see if he can move up
If you
to
can flip.
5 to 5:30, and then you will
Okay.
go from 5:30 to 6.
I got you, Randy. I'll shoot the text, Kevin.
All right. Ask Kevin if he can move to 5. Thank you, Kyle. And then we can say, okay, Trey, you're on. Trey.
I mean, this is the last time for a week, and he's trying to go on later. Usually it's can I come on at 4:30 so I can get the heck out of here?
Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I said, Trey, that works. And I'm depending upon Kevin Bohannon switching to 5 o'clock. So
I bet he can.
I bet he can.
He's going to talk about baseball. He's got, the draft is it Sunday? Is that the first day of it? Yeah, Sunday's the first day. And I was reading a story on Democrat Gazette's website. Matt Jones wrote it, and wow, Arkansas could get just absolutely devastated in this draft.
Hammered.
Yeah, I didn't realize they've got 13 guys rated in the top 100 and something, maybe just the top 100. Now they may sneak a couple of them through, but 13 of their signees are in the top 100. It's the most ever. It is the most ever. That's why it's the number 1 recruiting class in the country. But gee, many, 13 of the top 100. And think about it. That's just 3 rounds. I mean, that means they could all go in the top 3 rounds. Now, you might get 1 or 2 out of the 3rd round that you might keep, or maybe the 3rd rounder slips to 4th round. But there again, here's where the money comes in. Okay, so I was reading about the Orioles. They don't get to draft as high as usual because they got better last year. So I think they have the 18th pick. And that slot is worth $4 million something. In their top 10 picks, they get 10 point something million. And then I was reading about Kansas City, they get 12 point something million. They get to draft higher because they're really bad. And boy, they may get the number 1 pick next year. Well, although they have a lottery now. But anyway, they're really bad. But they can spend 12 million on their top 10, 12 plus. The Orioles can spend 10 plus. But what can happen is, and this is where you really have to worry about these guys that maybe get drafted in the 3rd and 4th round, if these teams are able to sign their 1st round pick for less than slot, they still get to use that money. And so let's just say in Baltimore's instance, their top pick is worth 4 point something million. And let's just say they did what they did with Kerstead, and they say, okay, we're going to sign you 18th, but that means you're a 1st rounder. Otherwise, nobody else is looking at you till the late in the 2nd round. So if we sign you in the 1st round, instead of giving you 4.2 million, will you take 2.8? Yes, sure I will. Okay, yeah, that's better than I'm going to get in the 2nd or 3rd round. Great. Then that 1.4 left can be applied above slot for somebody that's drafted later if that's what it takes to get them. That's where you really have to worry about Arkansas signees.
Just for the record, 12 signees who are ranked among the top 290.
Oh, it's 12 in the top 290. I thought it was even better than that.
I
thought it was
8
13.
Arkansas signees are in the publication's top 115.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Baseball America.
Okay.
All right. I'll read this, then we will go right to work to our phone lines. This from Woodpecker. and then Honest Abe. I don't know if that's the same person. He just changed his name from our Escher Record Service Company Live Fan Feedback. I love Rick. Randy, don't read live fan feedback backwards. Love y'all. Background or outro / intro. For want you something play. By the way, Randy, love you, love I. Never mind. I'm gonna quit reading it backwards. Woodpecker says, y'all have the best intro. My mom's loves Rick's voice, and I love his knowledge and voice. I love you, Randy, by the way. Play something you want for introduction, outro, or background. Okay. That has been our intro. I'm going to guess at least 32 years, if not if not 33 years.
Yeah.
I really
21.
I cannot think of another intro that we've ever had. Ever. Now, what we've had to do, we've had to doctor it at times. Well, not much, really, when I think about it. Hadn't changed for 21 years, because the only change we would have made would, like, let's say, went from David Basil, who, yes, did sit in briefly here on Drive Time with me, to Rick. But there's been no changes since then. So it's the same. I don't know about you, Rick, but I've got it down in my mind. I know exactly how much time that I have. It's about a minute from when it starts.
Sometimes you come on 58 seconds into it, and I'm sitting there wondering, am I
Well,
supposed
now
to say something?
I've got to tell you, there's some other shows where that intro could be, you would really be freaking out. But no, I've got it. You know, you after all these years, you listen to at the top of every hour.
Yeah.
And you do it for 5 days a week and just start doing the math.
Well, you got it then. Yeah. Cause when you're not on the show and I'm I'm the lead host, and usually as soon as the music starts playing, I come on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know you had a whole minute. I just know there's sometimes, you know, in your head, you don't count 1, 2, 3. So after 30 seconds, you think it's a minute. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, where is Randy? Is he coming on today? I didn't talk to him earlier. He is on today.
He's hiding somewhere.
And then here comes Randy. Welcome to Drive Time Sports. And I'm thinking, okay, thank goodness.
Yeah. Sometimes the intro, I will take it down. I don't mean to. I mean, I'm doing another multitasking, but that's okay. Shouldn't be multitasking. Should be just ready to do, just like I'm doing right now. Wood Pig, good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports.
I'm so happy to be here. That intro, it stirs my blood. It stirs my soul. It has a lulling effect. I mean, it just draws you right in. How did I describe it?
You did good. You did good.
Well, thank you. Hey, Randy, you always do a good job of letting them know whether you're going to be on the show or not. 99.9% of the time you show up.
That's true.
Sometimes
that's true.
100, yeah.
Now, I'm going to warn them in advance. I hadn't talked to Ray yet. Rick, I've got to take off Monday. You know, I shared with you the other day that.
You didn't tell me that either, but I'll
I'm telling you now.
Okay, thank you.
But I've got to take off.
The Dreamers. Remember that song? I'm telling you now.
I'm telling you now.
Telling you now.
But I've got to. Carrie and I have got to go and remove some final items for our home in Searcy, and because we are getting very, very close to finalizing everything there. So I got to take off Monday. So I'm just giving you a heads up. Thank you, Woo Pig, for reminding me to tell him that.
Well, it sounds like work to me, and it's still work one way or the other. Now, what about the sushi thing? I've never had it. I was in a truck stop, and it looked awfully good.
It's only in my memories, because it's been so long. But I got to tell you, the crab they have inside the jalapeno poppers is, and then the would you call it cheese?
Yes, I would. And all their appetizers are fantastic.
Oh my goodness, it is worth. And then the rolls, the little rolls, are outstanding. And I never was a fan of sushi until rock and roll sushi, but now it's only a memory.
Isn't it right?
Oh, yeah,
raw
different
fish?
kinds of
Isn't that
sushi.
what that
Listen,
is?
when I look at it, I know it's raw fish. I have an attraction, but how can you compare the taste and the texture of it?
Well, I'm not an expert on sushi. You're asking the wrong person. I
So how
never,
about you?
I never was a sushi fan, and I am now only because of rock and roll sushi. But that's only a memory. I got to tell you, it's been so long since I had rock and roll sushi. It's just hard to remember. I just remember how outstanding it was that one rare time that I had it.
Well, listen. As long as we're talking about food, it's not a problem. We have a situation where we may not have enough sports, so why not? And you guys do a wonderful job of it. Somebody's throwing their radio against the wall right now.
I don't know if that's good or bad. That I just hope it survives.
Well, how many more days until we get some football?
Well, the season starts for Arkansas in 57 days. Generally speaking, you probably can take off almost 7 days off of that because there's usually games that are played leading up to that first major weekend.
Oh, then I can get my Jones on then.
Well, I mean, you can watch what they call classics, whether they're playing a game down in Atlanta, Georgia may be playing XY. I don't have the schedule here in front of me, but that is typical.
Yeah, they leak it out slowly, and there's a game here and a game there.
Yeah.
I don't think there'll be any games in Italy.
In where?
Basketball games, football games in Italy.
No football games in Italy.
No, I don't think you'll have to worry about that.
Okay, well, anyway, I blew that one. I didn't set it up right. Well, gentlemen, it's always good talking with you. Have a good weekend, all of you, and be safe out there.
Thank you, Woo Pig. Yeah, we got plenty time. Jake, what's up?
Hey, Double R, Rick, how you guys doing today?
Man, doing great.
Thank you.
Good afternoon from somewhere between Kansas City and Springfield.
Oh, all right, good for you.
I don't know. I'm on Highway 13. That's all I know. But I will to answer Rupig's question. So I told you yesterday, Randy, that I've had the $60 special several times at Riverfront, and I've taken my lady to Benihana a few times too. She had never actually had hibachi, like true hibachi and stuff before, and I've never had sushi. And so I went in there and I was like, I want to at least try this. But my thing was, like, it's got to be something I like. And so I said, well, I've heard the hot tuna is good. Can I have a hot tuna roll or like a sample? The guy's like, you know what? I'll just give you a roll. So that's good on Frank on that right there. That's excellent service because they didn't have to do that for me. But they gave me a hot tuna roll and they give you the soy sauce and a little wasabi, and you mix up the wasabi and the soy sauce, dip it in there. Phenomenal. I mean, but that's tuna. Now, I don't know about anything else. The rock and roll sushi, as far as I understand it, it's more Americanized sushi. It's not so much sushi as it is a mixture of meats and stuff, and just more like, say, if you like raw steak, and I can't speak because I haven't eaten there, but I'm just guessing. When they say steak and all this other stuff, I'm guessing it's like cooked rare. I
would think that rock and roll sushi would have hot tuna, wouldn't you?
Oh my gosh, Rick!
They moved the buzzer on me.
Good.
Hey,
thank goodness.
Rick, I also want to tell you, you guys know I listen to you guys on the app through my headset in my truck every day.
Yeah,
and for the past 2 or 3 days, Rick, for some reason, and I don't know if it's an app issue. I'm pretty sure it probably is. Your mic is like way down compared to Randy. I don't know what that deal is. Or
Randy,
y'all can figure that out.
I do move him up at times. I hadn't done it today.
Here, I can do it. I'll move it up a little bit. Randy is the star of the show, and I know that, so that's why I try and be a little bit more subdued.
Hey, Rick, you're always the star of my heart, brother. Hey, I got a question for you guys real quick, man. First of all, the buzz has been great today. Every show has had different content, and it's been great to listen to, as always, all day long. Kept me going down the road, man. Heard either yesterday or today. So Blaine Knight got released from the Orioles.
Yeah, he
Rick,
has.
which is your team,
Yeah,
correct?
earlier this year.
And he
Yeah.
hasn't been picked up by anybody,
No.
which is strange to me because the dude is a phenomenal talent.
He
I would
just,
think
he just,
someone would
he
pick
was
him
not,
up and put him in
he
Double A
was, he
or
was not
something.
putting up the numbers.
No, he was not.
Not
good
for
at
the
all.
Orioles, not for
No.
the Royals.
No, he was not good at all. Did
Wow.
did the Royals pick him up? I didn't know that. But
I think they did briefly.
Okay, yeah. Hey, if the Royals got you,
and
you're
then
really in bad shape.
one more question for you, and I've asked this question numerous times before, but I'm going to bring it up again. Okay, so Nick Smith and the NBA, which I've heard Nick Smith is not doing very good right now on the court. I don't
Well,
know.
he's
I
just
don't
not.
watch
He's scoring
NBA
some
stuff.
points. He's not shooting that well.
I don't think he's
Yeah.
playing
scoring.
quality defense either. But go ahead, hurry,
Right.
hurry.
Right. All right. Well, how come that ESPN will play summer league games, but when I try to watch any kind of baseball games during college baseball season, it's like breaking an alarm to try to find Arkansas.
All right,
on there.
We'll talk about that when we
Seriously.
come back.
Thank you, Jake. Drive Time Sports will continue. Drive Time Sports and the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer on Randy Rainwater. You notice, Rick, I didn't let that music hardly. I mean, when he got out the Buzz Radio Network, I jumped right on it. I didn't want you to worry.
You talked faster than normal, too.
Yeah, well, I
Why'd
wanted to
you
make
do
sure.
that?
I wanted to make sure I got it in before
Okay,
you got worried.
Well, I'm not nervous. You're there.
Oh,
now.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Unless somebody brings you food, and you don't come back for a while.
That hadn't happened yet. I hadn't seen Shotgun Dan's. I haven't seen U.S. Pizza or any of those. By the way, this for Blue Pig. If you haven't, if the radio is not broken and it's still working, there will be 18 games played on August the 26th and the 31st. On the 26th of August, this game is played in Ireland, I believe, if memory serves me correct. Navy and Notre Dame. And not all these games obviously will be televised, but there'll be 16 games that you can watch somewhere, some station, all the way through August the 31st. Then there are games on September the 1st, September the 2nd, September the 3rd. Let's see. All right, here we are, week 1, and that's September
2nd, right?
2nd,
Really,
yeah.
for most teams.
No, yeah.
Right.
Western Carolina, Arkansas, September the 2nd at 3:00. So there you have it. The schedule will be up and roaring by the time Arkansas plays. There'll be several games. So Woo Pig, you can take that 57, and as I said, you probably can shorten it to 50, and you have the right number. Let's talk to Navy Mike. Mike, good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports.
Hello, Randy and
up,
Rick.
Mike?
Randy, your intro, your musical intro that you use for your show.
Yes, sir.
That's actually called. It's from the Kill Bill soundtrack. It's called Battle of something. So that thing is like 20 years old. It's kind of antiquated.
It's got to be older than that, because Randy said he's been playing it for 33 years, so it must be older than that.
Well, it's.
Oops.
Oh wow, you got some dogs there in the studio.
Yeah, one of them just ran down the hallway. He's chasing a bone, so
okay,
he'll be back in a moment.
But Randy, it's time to maybe update your theme music.
I don't want to update it. That's my song. That's our song.
Oh, okay. I mean, I was thinking maybe you could put like a Nickelback song in there instead.
No. I mean, if I've stuck with it this long, why do I want to change it, Navy?
I mean, I just it's like I said, it's kind of antiquated.
Nah.
At some point, you gotta update. You gotta get with the times.
Sometimes you hang on to things that mean so much to you.
That's right. Plus, look at how many people do like the intro that just said it. So, and usually, Mike, you're counter to most of our other listeners, so we'll probably keep it.
Okay. I mean, it is your
I
show,
hate to
Randy,
disappoint you. Hate to disappoint you, Mike.
But hey,
if you ever come back down to Arkansas, we have a chance to sit down face to face. We can have another discussion about it. But I'll say the same thing I'm saying now.
And we'll probably keep talking about how great a coach Dave Van Horn is too.
Yeah, probably true.
Yeah.
And we'll probably keep talking about what a great coach Eric Musselman is, and what a great coach
let's not get into that. This is kind of the dead period of sports. But and you guys were talking about sushi.
Yeah.
It's when you talk about eating raw meat, it's kind of a slap in the face to like cavemen are rolling around in their graves because they didn't have a choice. They had to. They were forced to eat raw meat. They didn't. I mean, until fire was discovered. Then once this fire was discovered, then there became no excuse to ever eat raw meat, like extra rare steaks, bloody steaks, or sushi.
Mike, that is so deep. I'm not sure. Can I kind of sort that, analyze it, and maybe we could discuss it at a later time. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean,
I got to absorb all that.
Well, I'm gonna go on this. Once fire was invented, there is no longer any excuse to eat raw meat. It's just not. And I'll just give you guys comments on that, whatnot, and you guys have a good evening.
Wow. Since fire was discovered.
I wonder what
wow.
Do we know any idea what the average lifespan of a caveman was?
Wow, he must not have lived very long because he was eating raw meat.
Oh my gosh.
McPherson for all the latest news for anything and everything basketball. Made possible by Fence Brokers. Fence Brokers, going the extra mile.
Wow.
But Kevin, how'd you like that call right before you came?
We wanted to set your segment up properly.
Well,
that's deep. That's deep. When you talk about that's deep.
Are the
Razorbacks? I started to wonder, should I start complaining about a blue sky and a sunny day and a chirping bird?
Yeah.
Hey, we've got clouds in Little Rock today, so you can complain about that.
Are the Beatles antiquated? Are the Rolling Stones antiquated?
Wow, good question. Yeah. Or how about baseball?
Well, let's forget about them.
Yeah.
Let's forget about. Okay, I've got a name.
Wait a second, Kevin. We got a key question to ask. Are the Razorbacks recruiting any Neanderthals?
Oh goodness, Neanderthals?
Because that way they can feed them raw meat. They don't have to worry about cooking it.
Okay, here we go. All right, I've got a name for you. Cooper Flagg.
Yes, one of the top players in the country, having a great run at Peach Jam. Arkansas has been recruiting Cooper. They reached out to him a while back and have been recruiting him. Carter Knox, another 5-star. Jace Richardson, who took an unofficial visit to Arkansas last year and has Arkansas on his top list of schools, has had an outstanding Peach Jam so far, and he's been a volume scorer. He's a combo guard. He's been doing a great job assisting the ball, but he's also been very efficient. And what I've been able to see of some of these guys, you mentioned Cooper Flagg. I've been watching him for a while. He was on one of the Team USAs that had a nice run a few months ago. But all of these guys are highly coveted. I mean, every program out there, the Blue Bloods are in on them. Everybody wants him. Carter Knox is a guy that I think, there's a way, one way or another, that Arkansas could get into his spot, truly get into his top 3 or 4. I don't know, if it's going to play out that way, but I think Arkansas could be a player there. And we'll just see what the other guys. We'll see what Jace Richardson decides to do. If he, every time I check in with him, he says he'd like to come back to Arkansas and visit. He just hasn't, got that figured out yet. And so, but those are just some of the names, guys, right now that are doing really well. You have K-Honor Boateng on the Adidas Summer Championships 3SSB that started out with a bang a couple of days ago in their opening game, 28 points, 11 of 16 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, but a big 28-point game and a win. He followed that up with another 4 of 7 effort from 3 ball. Yesterday against the number 1 seed, it was a 4-point loss for the Hawks against the number 1 seed in the Adidas 3SSB Summer Championships. But I was told it was basically the game of the day in that event. It came down to the wire. But, again, here's a player with Boateng. You always see the physique, the athleticism, some of the things he can do as an on-ball defender. He's elite in that way. A guy that's always been great in transition, slashing the basket, but he's really added a skill package. Dribble drive, setup game, mid-range. Now he's expanding it to 3. You could see some of that stuff come along in the last year, but he's more consistent now. He's putting up these multiple games of knocking down multiple threes and doing it efficiently. So he's a guy you continue to watch. I mean, couple of services have him as a 5-star. On3.com has him ranked in the top 10 now as a 5-star. So here's a guy that I think is going to have a great chance to position himself potentially for a McDonald's All-American, not only a nomination, but then an invite. He'll have a good shot at that, I believe, when that rolls back around in a few months.
Okay, so Arkansas got a must signee in football when they signed Bumper Pool. I am now in favor of Cooper Flagg. And that is one of the best names I have ever heard. Bumper Pool came to Arkansas. Cooper Flagg, I don't even know if he's any good. If he's a 5-star, Arkansas, they need Cooper Flagg. That is a great
All right,
name.
Rick. He's 6'8". He's 16 years old.
Yeah.
He played in the Elite Peach Jam event.
Yeah.
This is a game from yesterday. Scored 38 points, grabbed 16 rebounds, 12 blocked shots.
Holy Moses.
His main team defeated the Florida team led by the number 1 recruit, Cameron Boozer, who is the son of Carlos Boozer.
Forget Cameron Boozer. Cooper Flagg.
Cooper Flagg, 38, 16, and 12.
I want to say that name as many times as we can. That is a great name. Cooper
and I told
Flagg.
you he helped Team USA, so Flag, US, I mean, that's the kind of guy that if he continues to play like that, he's going to be in a lot of Team USA. But the Boozer twins, are both Cameron, you just mentioned it, Randy's the number 1 player. His brother, who's a guard, they're not identical twins. Cam's a bigger player. His brother's a smaller player, a guard, but he's ranked in the top 25 nationally. Arkansas has offers out to both of those guys. And you look at JJ Andrews, the class of 2026, Little Rock Christian, big guard, 6'5", was just a freshman last year, helped the Warriors win that 4A state title. But he's had an excellent run so far on the 15U level in Nike Peach Jam. So he's getting a lot of national attention. He's been rated as high as in the top 10 by ESPN, a 5-star. So here's a young man that's helping his cause as well. There's just so many players. We talk so much about portal. Lately, it's been draft and summer league. But when recruiting is so many things, it's retention of your current players. It is the portal. But these high school players, to me, you're going to have to pluck at least 2 or 3 of the best you can get from the high school ranks in just about every recruiting class to give yourself a chance to put the most quality product you can on the floor. When you're competing on the high major level in the SEC, and as strong as that league is now, I think Eric Melsman's kind of got it dialed in pretty well, and that's why you see he's at Peach Jam. Anthony Root is at Peach Jam. They're taking in these games and watching these players courtside because they have to continue to give Arkansas chances to get them on campus to visit, and then you've got a shot at getting them committed and signed.
All right, we're approaching the break. I was about to bring on a caller, but we will have to wait until the break, which starts like now. Hang on, Kevin. That's Kevin McPherson, better known as Hoop Scoop, courtesy of Hogville.net. And yes, our man, Chris Walker of Fence Brokers. Chris, you got any food? You have food out there at Fence Brokers? All right, Drive Time Sports will continue in just one moment.
Okay, we talk daily or every other day about Tacos for Life. Great place to eat. We talk about how many meals they provided. You know, we were so excited when they hit 30 million. They're halfway to 31 million right now. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? When you eat at Tacos for Life, you have the unique opportunity to help end childhood hunger around the world. Strategy is simple. For every taco, bowl, salad, quesadilla, or nachos purchased, a portion is donated to Feed My Starving Children. That's their nonprofit partner. Now, what they've done is they've developed a scientifically formulated Manna Pack rice meal that provides children with the nutrients to grow strong and healthy. They're made up of rice, vitamins, soy, and veggies, and they're sent to over 70 countries where they're distributed through schools, orphanages, and care points. So you think about that every time you eat one of their delicious tacos, bowls, salad, quesadilla, or nachos, you're helping someone else. It's Tacos for Life.
And that's Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater.
Now, let's go to Arkansas's premier basketball recruiting analyst, Kevin Hoop Scoop McPherson, for all the latest news for anything and everything basketball. Made possible by Fence Brokers. Fence Brokers, going the extra mile.
And let's bring in Steve. Steve, good afternoon. You have a question or comment for Hoop Scoop?
Yeah, Hoop Scoop. After this year, what does the basketball recruiting look like for like the next 2 or 3 years?
Did you hear the question?
I mean, is there?
I did.
You're talking about what? Class of 25 and class of 26? How about class of 35 and 36? Have we got any notice on that one
I'm
yet?
not worried about that, Rick. You know, the next 2 or 3 years.
All right. So you're not looking ahead to the best second graders.
No, not yet.
Okay.
They're a little young yet.
Well,
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, so there's, we were kind of talking about some of this before. Obviously, player retention's a part of it. Who are the guys that are in your rotation? Who are the guys that may not quite be in your rotation that you want to keep? Arkansas has done a really good job of retention. Most of the players that they've lost have been guys that have gone on to the pro level and gone into the draft. Most of the guys that have lost to the portal have been more of a mutual thing, and it wasn't somebody they lost they were counting on. That's part of it. I know that's not what he's specifically asking about, but there's more than one way to answer this because all of these things matter. Obviously, the portal, Eric Milsman typically grabs 4 or 5 guys out of it. And lately that would be considered a light trip, right? Last year it was 5. This year it's at least 6, about to be 7. Once one more is announced, so portal's going to be a big part of it. So it's hard to crystal ball which guys are going to be going into the portal. We can throw some names out there, guys that Arkansas might have interest in if they don't make it to the pro level and want to move on from whatever team they're with. But for the most part, that's really one of those things that you can't get your arms around until the spring. So that does leave us talking about what we've been talking about in the first segment, which are these high school prospects. And I mentioned some of the names, 24 Keonner Boateng, Jace Richardson. We just talked about those guys from class of 2024. Carter Knox is another guy, another 5-star who I mentioned. There's other ones. Trey Johnson, Eric Milsman's watching him right now at Peach Jam as we speak. But he was the number 1 player in the country. Now he's still rated in the top 5 when the services recently redid their, calibrated their rankings. But he's still a top 5-star. He's out of Texas, and a big guard, 6'5", 6'6", scoring guard. And we know Arkansas really, really hit Texas with casting that net, putting out offers, getting players on campus for visits. But those are some of the names you can look for in the class of 2024. When we look at 25, we went through some of those. Cooper Flagg, Cameron Boozer, Carlos Boozer's son, his twin brother Caden. You've got Terrion Burgess right here in the state of Arkansas in Benton, 6'9" combo forward. I mentioned Boateng's performance. Burgess just had a really nice, efficient shooting game for 13 points, to go with several rebounds, assists, a block shot. But that was against that number 1 seed mass rival 17U at the Adidas event. So he just had a really nice game. And this is his first circuit event because back in the spring, back in April, when Adidas had its first 2 circuit events, Burgess was recovering from an ankle that he'd rolled in Real Deal in the Rock just a few weeks before that. So he had to sit those out. So this is his first, going head to head against some of the best players in the country this summer so far. But here's a guy that's got a lot of high major offers, and Arkansas, I think Arkansas leads for his services. It's been that way for a while. But that's, part of that class of 2025. Isaiah Seeley from Springdale, another guy that's been rated in the top 30 by ESPN, a really good basketball player, obviously, another big guard that Arkansas recently offered. When you look at 2026, I just mentioned in the previous segment, J.J. Andrews at Little Rock Christian, another player that has an offer that's playing up this week on the 17 and under level from the class of 2026, Jacob Lanier out at Maumelle, another big combo guard, 6'5", 6'6", playing up with the team out of Missouri, and he's already putting up numbers. He had 15 points in a 17 and under game on the Under Armour Association. That's their highest level, and they're having an event this week. So he's already putting up good numbers playing 2 levels up. You got multiple guys. Jay Sean Hayes, the 6'5" guard out of Whitehall, who's also got a recent Arkansas offer. So you look at the local guys, and when I've talked quite a bit at different times about different players from the state of Texas. I mentioned some of those names today. Caden Bug Edwards from that class of 2025 at Duncanville High School. We know that's where Anthony Black played. Well, he took an unofficial visit to Arkansas last year, attended a game, but he has interest in the Hogs. He's been playing well this week. So you got multiple players, and this is why Arkansas's got, again, Eric Meltzman, Anthony Ruda at the Nike event. We'll see if those guys move around or stick there. But it's Peach Jam, and that's the big finale for Nike.
Kevin, this is a roster question. I am looking at the most recent roster for the Arkansas basketball Razorbacks, and one name that's not on here, and maybe it's just to be added and just for the time being is not on this roster. That's Chandler Lawson. I mean, nothing has changed in regards to his status, has it?
Not that I'm aware of, but he's a guy that had, I don't know what he's doing to finish things up, but I don't think that he was coming. My understanding was he wasn't arriving until the second session anyway, which is probably just getting underway. So this could be a thing where will be there soon, and they'll add him to the roster at some point. But we'll see. I mean, again, there's some fluidity with a couple of situations with guys who are already there. But there's also a guy that I keep bringing up, not naming him yet because they're not ready to name him. But there's a guy that's already in the fold who also is not on the roster. He hasn't even been publicly announced as a commitment. So there's just a few little things shaking here, and they'll shake out soon enough. And when we're on the time frame of the powers that be, and I'm just the messenger. I know people get frustrated with that. I don't say these things to be in a taunting way, like I know something you don't. But as someone who likes to consume as much information as I can get, I'd rather know a little something than not any of it. And some people may say, well, just wait till we can get all of it. But most people want everything now. And if I can give them a little bit now, that's better than nothing, in my opinion. And we'll get the rest of it later when it's ready to come out.
Then, saying that, to say this, can you update us on Bay Fall?
I don't have an update on Bay Fall right now. He's on the roster still.
Correct.
They've assigned him a number.
Number 10.
Yep. So I don't have an update as far as what happens next with him in terms of availability next year.
Do we know if he's on campus? Do we know that much?
It's been reported that he's on campus. I've been asked not to confirm or deny it, but it has been out there. So it's been on social media that he arrived at XNA. I don't know, this is a week or so ago.
Right. Correct.
And there's been other things out there that he's been seen on campus. I'm not going to comment either way, but there's stuff out there. So,
well, we're getting close enough now that I think, especially with the second semester starting, you would think most of these pieces of the puzzle would start falling into place. All right, Kevin, have a great weekend. We will talk with you next week. That is Kevin McPherson, better known as Hoop Scoop, courtesy of Hogville.net. Thanks to Chris and the gang at Fence Brokers, Chris Walker and the gang at Fence Brokers. Hour number 2, straight ahead. Kevin Bohannon up next. Hour number 2 of Drive Time Sports in the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer standing by in Northwest Arkansas. I'm Randy Rainwater from the capital city. In a moment, we'll be joined by Kevin Bohannon, as we will go around the horn. But first, we need to talk with Neil Atkinson by way of Saracen Casino. Neil, there is what I would call red hot specials on Bet Saracen, including tonight's Charlotte-San Antonio Summer League matchup with the Spurs favored by 6.5 with the over-under at 184.5. But the one that caught my attention first and foremost was the MLB All-Star Game, and it starts off with Home Run Derby. I love it.
Yeah, the Home Run Derby Monday night. It's actually my favorite part of the All-Star. And do you see what the over and under is on how many home runs are going to be hit? That's a big number right there.
That is a huge number.
I don't know if I want to save it because it'll make you go to the site and look at it. But anyway, you can go ahead and say it, Randy.
Well, the total home runs, 276.5. And then you get to go round by round. I mean, this is crazy. Do you go Pete Alonso? Do you go Vladimir Guerrero? And then there's Julio Rodriguez. I mean, there are some great options in there.
Oh, absolutely. Pete Alonso is the clear favorite. He has 2 wins already. He just was nudged out. Was it last year or the year before? So this would be his 3rd one if he does it. So really looking forward to that one too. Don't forget, we got only 2 days left before the All-Star break of regular baseball action with the flash bets. No flash bets on the All-Star game because it's a little bit different scenario right there. So we've got that. And the G League, the players are betting it. I shouldn't have talked about it last night because the Summer League players did very, very well last night on that game. And the Arkansas Travelers and the Naturals are playing again tonight. Remember, we teased that one, and I said, boy, there's been a lot of hits.
Mm-hmm.
The over hit last night, the bettors were listening because they went in and they bet it, and they scored nicely on that one last night. So that game is up again tonight, too, on the site for our Arkansas Regional Specials. Now, always, you can find that and even more at betsaracen.com. Registration takes less than 5 minutes with your information. Get you an account. Football season is coming, and the props are getting hot.
There you go. That is Neil Atkinson by way of betsaracen.com, or go to the App Store and get the app at BetsSaracen.
Baseball season is in full swing, and you don't want to miss a thing. It's time for Around the Horn with Kevin Bohannon. Around the Horn is brought to you by Stanley Wood, Buick, Chevy, GMC, and Scott Wood, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. And now it's time for Around the Horn.
Kevin, I've got to tell you that Rick has me now so worried about this incoming class that they're all going to be drafted and they're all going to go within the first 290 picks, if not the first 150 picks. Is there going to be anything left once it's all said and done of this recruiting class?
My question as well, yes.
Yeah, I think Coach Van Horn and Coach Hobbs and Coach Thompson and the whole staff are wondering the same thing. And I was talking to somebody, I was talking to Phil Elson the other day, and I said, out of the 3 major sports, baseball is the one that is the least scientific, because you can look at 3 mock drafts and it'll be 3 different players. They just don't know because of you have 3 different pools of players to pick from: high school, junior college, and then the college ranks. You have some college kids that are 2 years that can come out, and some that are after their 3rd year. And then COVID adds the intrigue of everything. You got kids that are hurt, like Jackson Wiggins. Adam Hackman, who is a Razorback recruit from the prep ranks. So you just don't know. And, and the funny thing is Jackson Wiggins goes out to Arizona for the MLB Combine, which is something that they've really done well with. MLB sponsors it. They fly all the prospects out to Arizona. You can work out, go through simulated games and everything. But for Jackson, he just went and interviewed. He sat there from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and interviewed with just about every team he could imagine in 2 days. Ask him how it went. He said it went good, but he doesn't know anything after it. His agent and his advisors are working with clubs. They have a number that they want him to sign for, and it's just a matter of if the team has enough money. The bonus pools, people talk about deals are done before the draft. Well, not too much, because Pittsburgh, who has the number 1 overall draft pick, is keeping their cards close to the vest. They're not telling anybody who they're going to pick. So it could be one of 4 or 5 players at this point.
Of the incoming players, signees, is there any locks, Kevin, that you would consider for the upcoming draft? What I mean, it's going to take almost a minor miracle if they didn't sign.
Yeah, and there's 3 groups that I have separated out. So Aiden Miller, the shortstop from Florida, and then Walker Martin, the shortstop from Colorado. Those 2 are locks. I would say it would take a minor miracle, like you said, to get those 2 or either one of those to campus. They're both projected in the first round. Miller anywhere from that 15 to 25 slot, middle to late of first round. And then Walker Martin, same situation. Some have him a little higher than Miller. Some had him back-to-back. But you can see him going in the late part of first round, then the compensatory or sandwich picks, as they like to call them. So, yeah, he's definitely – those 2 definitely right there. And then you got Nazon Zanatello and Kendall George, 2 more position players. Zanatello, of course, is a left infielder beanie. He comes in at shortstop, but could play third base as well. He had a really good combine workout, 5'2" guy, 6'2", 195, just impressed scouts all summer or all spring, and then coming into the summer at the MLB Combine. And then Kendall George is the Enrique Bradfield of the prep ranks. He's got Enrique Bradfield speed to first base. He's been clocked 6'2" in the 60, which is, right about Bradfield speed. Some scouts have joked that, and I've said this on here before, that he's got 90 speed on this 20 to 80 scale, that he's that fast. So doesn't have the power. Hit tool is not quite there, but he can play in center field. He covers ground really well. So those 4 are the ones that I feel won't make it to campus. Zanatello and George could slide down. They've been as high in the 50s and 60s, which gets you into the second, top of the third round. And that gets your name called on that first night. So those are the 4 right there that I really feel it's going to have to take something amazing for them to make it to campus.
How many have they actually signed? When you talk about, say, 12 or 13 being the top, draftables, how many have they actually signed? Yeah. And so how many of these guys are we sure won't be drafted, or will be drafted high enough that they can get them? And are they going to have to go back to the transfer portal again if they lose too many of them?
So they have 21 signed right now.
Okay.
And of course, yeah, they have 21 signed. So if you lose 5 or 6,
okay, they're still okay.
I mean, you're still getting, they're still okay. So, and that's the thing that a lot of people have an issue with, is Arkansas oversigning, because you only have 11.7 scholarships, and you're not going to give full scholarships to 11 of the 15 that come in. So they're chopping it up like they need to. They take into account academics. You get academic money. Like I tell kids, it doesn't matter how you get to school and how it's paid for. As long as you're there and you're getting a chance to play, go do it. Right. I don't care if you have a walk-on beside your name or a PWO preferred walk-on. That doesn't matter. If they're giving you some type of money to go play at a university or a college, go do it. So you got some guys on the fringe that are in the top 100 of perfect games rating, like Tucker Holland, left-handed pitcher, 6'5", 240 from North Carolina. Draft boards say he's going to go to Arkansas. Ty Wade, the catcher, third corner infielder from Texarkana, he's ranked number 90, but he's going to go to Arkansas. And then you got some guys like Nolan Souza, who's out of Hawaii, 6'2", 205 shortstop. He's not too high on draft boards, but he's ranked in the top 100. So you've got some really good talent. Barrett Kent, big righty from Texas, 6'4", 215. They really feel like if they get half of the pitchers that they've signed, if they get them to campus, it just makes a deep pitching staff even deeper and even better next year.
All right, Kevin, the ones that I tend to look at and have major question marks on the current roster. Any updates on Caleb Cali?
Not at this point. And Coach Van Horn said he expects him back next year because he's not just going to take any number. See, with that situation, it's kind of like Brady Slavens last year. It's got to be the right situation, the right team for him, and he's just not going to sign for a number. So Caleb Cali, I could see him coming back. Now, you get into looking at people like Caleb Cali, Peyton Holt, those guys coming back.
Ben McLaughlin.
You start at Ben McLaughlin, you add numbers to the roster and then you start looking at the guys that are remaining, the freshmen that are now sophomores, Reese Robinette, Jason Jones, Mason Neville. I said if they signed another outfielder that Mason Neville was gone, and they went and got Ross Lovich from Missouri. So wouldn't be surprising if Mason Neville goes to the transfer portal because now you've signed 3 outfielders to replace the ones that are leaving in Josenberger, Wagner, and Jay Sporfin. So would not surprise me if they move on, if Neville moves on. Then you got Jason Jones, top prospect coming in last year, didn't go in the draft. His number was really high. I had other thoughts. I didn't think he was ready for professional baseball, and I didn't think he would play a whole lot his freshman year. Sometimes I'm right. So Jones, I haven't heard too much on him this summer. I can go look. He's playing in the Cape. So he slotted in at third base, a lot of people think. But if Caleb Cali comes back, I think Caleb Cali's your everyday third baseman because he proved he can play it and play it well and hit at a high level. So he's one of those guys, I'm telling you, that comes back next year. He's one that can hit 330, 340 and hit 15 bombs. And that's what you want in the middle of the lineup to win a national title.
What about someone like Hunter Holland? What kind of interest is he drawing?
Yeah, so you've got 3 current Razorbacks that are in the running to be the first hog taken off the board. So they're Jackson Wiggins, Hunter Holland, and Jay Sporfin, and they could fall anywhere early as 40, late as 90. So all 3 of them have question marks, and then all 3 of them have tremendous upside. So looking at Hunter Holland, everybody saw what he could do in big situations. The games against LSU, the complete game he threw this year, they showed that you can stretch him out a little bit, but he bounced back too soon, kind of got roughed up towards the end of the season. So I like Holland. D1Baseball.com labeled him the best left-handed college pitching prospect in the draft. So that just shows you, how scouts and industry experts think of, his talent. So Wiggins, the talent's not the question. Everybody knows he can throw. Everybody knows he can pitch. If Jackson Wiggins were to have played this year and done what he did in the fall, he would be a lock to be a first rounder. He would go in the top 39 picks, no doubt. But cross-checkers didn't get out to see him this spring. He had the surgery in February. But people got to see enough of him in the fall and in the last 2 years to know this is what we can project on him. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jackson goes in the 60 to 80 range, signs for $1 million. That's what I think of him and where he could go. Now, Jace Borfin, if Jace stopped at the middle of the season and that was the body of work that you saw, he's a top 40 pick. But then the back half of the season, he just fell off a lot. So people, when you start falling off and the stats start going down, they start, getting meticulous about everything and start dissecting, okay, what's wrong in the swing, what's not projecting at the next level. So they did that, and he's high on boards. He's in the top 100. So, that's top 3, top 4 round money. I could see him going as high as 40, low as 70. So you got 3 guys right there that are all that could be really close, within maybe 20, 30 picks of each other.
Now, is Jackson out for this entire year upcoming?
Yes. Yeah, he'll be out.
So if you draft
Yeah.
Jackson, what you're doing, you're drafting basically for 2025.
That's exactly right. So he could get back and throw next summer, and he could go to rookie ball on the back end of it because 15 months would put him in May.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to make sure and bring him along slowly and do that. And people have asked, and I've read it on message boards and replied, is there any chance it comes back? And I was like, absolutely 100% not, because that's 1 year off of his life. And I don't care if he's rehabbing it or not, the quicker he can get into a Major League Baseball organization, use their facilities, use everything, rather than rehabbing and going through the draft next year and maybe throw at the end of the year. People were questioning me because I said he has nothing to gain by coming back. He doesn't. I mean, what happens if he comes back and he's slow out of the gate, which a lot of people that come off Tommy John surgery right out of the gate are not their former self. It takes a little build up to get there. So I've seen it enough to know that there's nothing for him in Fayetteville anymore. So move on to the professional ranks. That's, and that's my opinion, that his stock cannot be improved for him coming back to Arkansas.
Let's squeeze in Shane. Well, never mind. All right, I'll go instead to our Asher Record Service Company live feed feedback. We seem to be asking this now about any sport for that matter. All Call says, why recruit the best high school kids? Go through the portal.
No, not in baseball. Not if you can get a great baseball player, because he can play as a freshman. You get him for 3 years, and baseball is different from basketball. Am I correct on that? Oops, where'd Kevin go?
I think we're dealing with a little bit of delay,
Maybe
one.
so, but I got to tell you, no, if you can get a terrific baseball player, because it's a whole different deal. Baseball, how many terrific freshmen have come in and played well?
I mean, when you take 1 year of Caden Wallace?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you can name off some others.
But in baseball, you get them for 3 years.
Right.
And the thing is, unless they're not playing, they're not going anywhere. So if they come in and play as a freshman, look at Andrew Benintendi. Andrew Benintendi hit 271 as a freshman at Arkansas. He hit 2 home runs. As a sophomore, he hit 22 home runs. He hit 380 or 390 something. Led the SEC in home runs, batting average, RBI. Won the Triple Crown in the SEC, and he's the top guy drafted. I mean, you can't say, well, gee, and they only got him for 2 years, but he's better than anybody that had gotten in the transfer portal.
All right, do we have you back, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, all right,
I'm here.
All right, we were just discussing the merits, and I don't know if you heard the question before we lost you, but Hog Call says, why recruit the best high school kids? Go through the portal.
Because you have to build a roster projected for more than a year. You just can't be John Calipari and get 5 guys on the floor and be one and done. Baseball is not like that. And I've said this to a lot of people. Freshmen coming onto campus, they're likely going to be behind somebody. In the late 90s, early 2000s, they were behind an upperclassman. They were behind a junior or senior that was playing. And now when they get to campus, they're going to be behind somebody, but it may be a sophomore that's a portal guy. So these guys are still coming in having to compete for playing time. It builds depth. You just can't say, okay, let's go get 11 players and 5 pitchers and go win a national title. Let's go do that. That doesn't happen. So you have depth. You have young guys that you build. It's like Rick said, because I heard he's talking about Andrew Benintendi.
Yeah.
He 272 bombs his first year, and then Golden Spike winners, 7th overall pick to the Red Sox after his sophomore year. And then he's on, off to the league. So that's why you get these young guys, because of projection. You're not getting them for the player they are now or the player they were this spring. You're getting them for the player they could be next spring or the spring after that. And the ones that are good enough and can develop into that, baseball's a guessing game sometimes. And y'all know that. You've been around the game your whole lives. It's all about projecting and looking at, where you're at, where you can be, not where you're at right now. And that's why it's never an exact science.
All right, we're going to try Shane again. Shane, are you with us this time? Shane, good afternoon.
Yeah. Yes. I was wanting to ask about the portal ones that we got from the portal. Which do you think they'll actually make it and not go in the draft? And I was wanting to see what you think about the top pitchers coming in the high school class. How much of an impact they'll be on? And I'll hang up and listen.
Excellent.
You're going to have to hurry. You got less than 30 seconds, so go right ahead.
Okay, Gabe Gakel, Barrett Kent, and Dylan Questad, Hunter Dietz. Those are the four that you're looking at to get to campus from the recruiting class. There's only one that I feel that Craig Yo from Indiana that could get drafted. He's a sixth-year guy, but he's only a redshirt sophomore because of injuries and COVID. That could not make it to campus. Everybody else is not draft eligible, so Arkansas will get all the guys from the portal as of now.
All right, Kevin, enjoy the weekend. Look forward to talking with you next week after we have gone through at least one round of the MLB draft. All right, Rick Schaeffer.
Thanks, guys.
I'm Randy Rainwater. Drive Time Sports will continue in a moment. Well, speaking of hog heaven, how about food heaven? You have the best of many worlds. If you select and you get a reservation at the Riverfront Steakhouse this weekend, giant lobster tails. Giant lobster tails. They're going to prepare just like they do the fried shrimp. However, they will still have lobster the traditional way. And if Double F, as Frank Fletcher says, the fried lobster tails are delicious and he recommends it, folks, jump on it. It's that good with Frank's recommendation. And missing the best of both worlds, you also have the dinner for two for $60, which includes the 10-ounce filet, the salad bar. Combine that with your choice of some great appetizers and the fried shrimp. All of that for just $60. This is the best that you're going to find. Giant lobster tails, or do you want to go to dinner for two for $60 and that great 10-ounce steak? That is the Riverfront Steakhouse in North Little Rock. 371-9000. Ask for William or Shapur. Tell them I sent you, and you will not be disappointed.
Now to Trey Biddy, brought to you by Asher Wrecker Service, 501-562-2293. Family owned and operated since 1980. Asher Wrecker, dependable towing and vehicle recovery service. Ask for Asher.
Hit them up and move them out. Trey's getting ready to go on vacation, so today is the day. You better line them up and get your questions in before Trey heads out on vacation. In fact, I'll start you off, Trey, with a question from our Buzz text line. Ask Trey, is there an intern position for Hog Sports that could be part-time, or will it need to be full-time?
Well, yeah, technically part-time. We have an internship position available, and yeah, I mean, we're looking for anybody. To be honest, I don't find a lot of kids out of college that are completely ready to be sports journalists. In fact, it takes a lot of training, even after college. Not that anybody's doing a bad job, but it just takes a lot of training. And so, yeah, I have an opportunity available for somebody out there. I don't care what your background is. If you're consider yourself a decent writer, I can make you a really strong writer. I can turn you into a sports journalist. I can do it. I can give you, in 5 months, I can get you started and possibly with a full-time job at the end of it. So if you're passionate about sports, if you're a hard worker, if you can write decently, which is harder said than, actually done, then send me an email, Trey@hogsports.com, HAWGsports.com, Trey@hogsports.com. Put JOB, just JOB in the subject line, or else I'll overlook it. Put your resume in there. But yeah, we're looking for somebody, and it's hard to find qualified people. But like I said, yeah, well, there's a job at the end of it for the right person, and you do need to live in Fayetteville, and I wouldn't say you look at it as a part-time job, but it's part-time. It's an internship. But yeah, we're looking for somebody who's a go-getter, and you may not like me at the end of it, but you'll be a lot better writer. I promise you.
Okay. I like that. All right. Here we have a question from Tony. Tony, good afternoon. You have a question or comment for Trey?
Yeah, good afternoon, Trey. I do have a question for Trey. Basically, I was leaning towards maybe an injury report, maybe somebody that's not going to make that first game against Western Carolina. And basically, I don't know a lot about Western Carolina, and maybe y'all could update me on that. And I do have two other questions other than football related that for you and Randy and Rick. Braves versus Rays, what do y'all think? And ballpark pricing ticket-wise, as far as like on my bucket list, I want to go to like an Orioles game and a Chicago Cubs game because those are historic ballparks and I haven't been. But tackle the injury report question first, and who should we fear on Western Carolina's team? And what's your projection on how good they're going to be? And I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Tony.
I have not jumped into Western Carolina.
I have not either
yet. Yeah. All I know is what I would like to see is Arkansas should dominate this opponent. Obviously, they've never played before, but Arkansas should dominate the opponent. I would love to see them come out strong. We always talk about the first play, a lot of times defining how the season is going to go. And I just want to see them come out for about 2.5 quarters and whip them, and maybe see a lot of Jacoby Criswell and some other guys after that. That's what I would think about Western Carolina. Now, again, haven't dove into them just yet. As far as injury report, thinking on the offensive line, I'm thinking, Luke Brown was out. Now, he's just a freshman. We weren't expecting him to make a big contribution, but he had a meniscal tear type of injury. Some people, sometimes they call it a knee sprain, but that should be fine. That's usually like 6 weeks or so for guys this age. Dominic Johnson is coming off the torn ACL. Now, Dominic injured it a lot earlier than he did last time, and he was back the day after fall camp. He not fully back. He started slowly working his way back, but he was pretty much back and able to start practicing. I would think that he's going to be ready for fall camp this time. At least that's what I would hope. He may have to play himself into shape a little bit. Last I saw, he was listed at about 253. I wouldn't expect Quincy McAdoo to maybe even play this year, just based on what we see. Spent a long time in the hospital. And so based on what I've heard, I wouldn't expect that. I think Quincy's got to get himself right. And then, who knows, down the line, maybe we can talk about playing football. Al Walcott missed the spring. I heard him talking on the sidelines during one of the practices where he was saying he was almost back, and that was back in the spring. So I would expect to see him out there. And aside from that, guys, I feel like they came out of the spring pretty healthy. They've got, a couple of guys. Cam Ball was a little banged up, but I don't think that was anything long-term. It was an ankle. Eric Gregory was still dealing with a little bit of knee issue, but that was from way back, around the bowl game. I think maybe the Missouri game. So he should be fine. Nothing else jumps out to me off the top of my head as far as a guy maybe missing, fall camp or something like that.
And I'll quickly, don't want to take Trey's time, just tell you that Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and Houston have done the best job in recent years of building teams to last. Atlanta playing Tampa Bay, great series. The Braves right now, they've won, I think, 25 out of the last 29 games. I'll take the Braves. And if you want to go to Camden Yards, tickets prices are probably fairly reasonable right now, although they may be going up because the Orioles are winning. Wrigley Field, you have to know somebody or go on StubHub, and you could pay a lot for those tickets.
All right, Trey, this one from our Buzz text line, this from Tori in Jacksonville. He says, how is it that Musselman is having so much success bringing in high-level 4-star and 5-star recruits, but Coach Pittman is not, when there is a lot more of them in football?
Well, there's also a lot more competition. Arkansas has a tremendous basketball history, and that obviously helps. And the fan support is great for all sports. When basketball is rocking, it's hard to compare any other basketball venue in the country to what Arkansas has, and the facility support and all that. Football, Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, when it's rocking, like Texas game and stuff, it's hard to beat. But there's a lot of other teams. There's a lot of other teams with fantastic, especially in this region, fantastic stadiums. And you're also talking about a much smaller roster. Arkansas as a state also produces well above what they should per capita in terms of, elite talent. Just look at, recent classes. You had Nick Smith Jr. last year. This year you got Layden Blocker, who's a 5-star in the class. The state has absolutely produced an incredibly high level of talent. And you're dealing with a much smaller roster. And I think that just makes it easier to go in. Like, we could talk about, why isn't Kansas doing better in football? They seem to be doing really well in basketball, but so it doesn't always, translate sport to sport. The support level is high. I think the competition is just a little bit higher for football. And, with football also, you really need, I get excited when Arkansas gets a good wide receiver. or a good
Yes.
defensive back.
Yep.
But when they get a defensive lineman who's big time or an offensive lineman who's big time, I think we all know, those who follow football know, that's where the difference is made. And there's just not a lot of people that are like that. And Alabama and Georgia and, programs like that scoop them up really quick. And Arkansas doesn't produce at a high level per capita inside the state for football talent. They don't. There's obviously some really good talent in the state, and this year's a really good class. But there are years where, Arkansas might take 4 guys from inside the state. So I think all of that plays a big part in why, the basketball team may have the sense of a higher ceiling than the football team.
All right, Trey, this from Kenneth by way of our Asher Record Service Company live fan feedback. Trey, do you think KJ will be named first team quarterback all SEC preseason, all SEC, or JT Daniels? Also, will he vote for KJ for the first team? Don't mean to put him on the spot. Yeah, you are, Kenneth. You mean to put him on the spot. Will you vote KJ for the first team?
I like being on the spot, Randy. That's where
I like it.
So I think that the Tennessee quarterback, Milton, probably has a really good shot just because of the way that offense is. He's going to he has a chance to put up a lot of yards. I think Tennessee I like Tennessee maybe to win the Eastern Division, maybe the last Eastern Division champion. But I also like LSU maybe to win the Western Division. Those are the 2 teams that have returning starting quarterback. Well, Tennessee doesn't. He's not considered a returning starter, but he started the last few games for him when their starter got hurt. But those 2 guys, along with KJ Jefferson, I don't know how Will Rogers is going to be used this year exactly with Mississippi State. Obviously, they have a bit of a change in philosophy with Arnett taking over as head coach for the late Mike Leach. But those 4 guys, I would put up there pretty high. I would expect whoever starts for Alabama to have a lot of success. Whoever starts for Ole Miss, probably Jackson Dart retaining that job. But they got 2 other guys that are big time. I would expect probably, as far as returning guys that we've seen a good bit of, I would say probably Jaden Daniels, Milton at Tennessee, KJ Jefferson, and Will Rogers. I would think those maybe are the top 4.
According to the SEC podcast, they have KJ at number 1, Daniels at 2, Dart 3, Rogers at number 4, Wegman of A&M at number 5, and then Joe Milton at number 6. All right, Trey, hang on. We got to step aside for a moment. Yep. That is Trey Biddy of hogsports.com. Be sure and get your questions in. We've only got one more segment with Trey. Drive Time Sports on the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater. We'll be rejoined by Trey in just a moment. Weather is just right for a weekend trip to the lake or maybe to the ball diamond, whatever it may be. But before you head out, make sure you stop by your local Double B's and load up with all of the right gear. When I say all the right gear, I'm talking you got to have ice. It all starts with ice. But you've also got to have, whether it be the water or whether it be the Gatorade. You're going to need it. Need to hydrate. Even if you're on the water, you got to continue to hydrate. And right now they've got the 28-ounce Gatorade, 2 for $4.50, or the 30-ounce core water for just $2. And there are locations scattered all over our great state. Maybe head to Greenbrier. Be sure and swing by the Rosebud Double B's, where you might get a hot plate lunch, or if you're wanting a burger to go, grab it and then head out to the lake, but also pick up all of those essentials you'll need while you're there at the lake. It's Double B's. It's where you gas it, grab it, and go. Make it Double B's.
Now to Trey Betty, brought to you by Asher Wrecker Service, 501-562-2293. Family owned and operated since 1980. Asher Wrecker, dependable towing and vehicle recovery service. Ask for Asher.
Well, Trey, this comes from our Buzz text line, and I don't know which one that Mark is talking about. He said, can y'all ask less obvious questions?
Less obvious questions.
Mark can ask a question.
Huh.
Does Mark have a question?
I don't know.
Or just a complaint?
Do you believe that flying saucers will drop the first football at the Western Carolina game Saturday on September 2nd?
Flying saucers, UFOs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he asked me to ask less, questions that you wouldn't expect. Yeah, it's not an obvious question. Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think that's a possibility?
Martian walk to the 50-yard line and hand the football to Hunter Yurchek? Wow, that'd be pretty creative.
I definitely think that Martians exist. I just wonder, is light speed attainable? Because it might not even be possible. And if it's not, then, it takes light 7 seconds to get around the Earth, 8 minutes to get from the sun, 4 hours to get to Neptune.
Holy Moses.
And the nearest star, if you travel the fastest you could possibly travel, which is 28,000 miles an hour, the Apollo missions, getting to the nearest star would still take 158,000 years. So light speed might not even be possible, but I do think there's definitely life out there. Wow. How's that for an answer, Mark?
That was a good answer.
Man, I'm impressed.
Well, we wanted to ask an unobvious question.
Okay.
Do you think there are any prospects on Mars? We don't know about life, but how about football prospects? Are any of them out there?
Pluto's got a
Probably
great
not
quarterback.
Football, but we could see where that goes. Maybe you got somebody with extra legs and extra arms and stuff.
Mm-hmm. How about
football?
New Zealand?
Is there a rule that you have to be a human being?
Yeah, probably so. Let's go to New Zealand. Arkansas recruited New Zealand lately?
No, but I always say, if you're going to recruit out of this country, the tallest people in the world are Dutch. But the biggest people that I've seen.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Yeah,
really?
The Dutch.
Huh.
Yeah, they're the tallest people in the world on average. The biggest people I can remember seeing are Germans, in terms of just broad shoulder. And I just wonder, you don't hear a whole lot about German basketball players. There's some, Dirk Nowitzki was a great one. But, these guys play soccer and stuff. And I just wonder, some of these guys get so huge. I'm talking when I was in Germany, it wasn't uncommon just to see a 6'7" dude, just commonly. Every once in a while. And you could go a long time before you see somebody that tall, in America, or, a woman that's 6'3", that wasn't out of the ordinary, but some of these dudes are huge. And I just wonder, when you get too big for soccer, when, Greco-Roman wrestling and all that stuff, the Olympic stuff's done, basketball, you don't see a whole lot of them playing that, but some of these guys are just massive. What do these guys do after that? Well, maybe
you have any eligibility left?
As long as they haven't entered college, you have eligibility. You got 5 years. Your clock ticks.
Yeah.
Right when you start college. But if you don't start college, even if you're 60 years old, you got eligibility. But if you started college, then 5 years later, you're out of eligibility.
Yeah, you like those kind of guys with that kind of so-called experience.
We can talk about all kinds of weird stuff.
This was great. This was great.
Got a lot of interest.
In response to one listener, isn't that good?
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, this from Steel Hog. He said, please ask Trey. I don't think this is an obvious question either. About Terry Wells. Is he still with the team? If so,
Yes.
How is he doing?
He's still with the team. Terry had some back issues pretty early in his career, but I would say he's probably rolling third team right now. Some of the guys in that class, not the last one, but the one before, Cole Carson's another one. Those guys kind of seem to be somewhere around third team, not really cracking through just yet.
And let's see. This from come on, load up. This from Tony from BB says, do not waver or miss on KJ Trey. He is as good as anyone in the SEC.
Oh, I think so. I'm just saying, there's a lot of factors that come into play. Wins matter when you're talking about quarterbacks, and that plays a role. But statistically, if KJ had stayed healthy last year and the 2 games he missed, maybe Arkansas wins that LSU game. And, this season looks a lot better. And, maybe they win the Liberty game. And then they're right back where they were in 2021 with 8 regular season wins. KJ probably would have thrown for over 3,000 yards, ran for over 700 yards. And then I think a lot of people look at those numbers. I think a lot of people look at numbers and just kind of glance over them. Okay, 2,600 yards, 500 rushing yards, pretty good numbers. But miss the fact that and a lot of people are national who are spread thin. They're not just going to deep dive every single team, all 131, maybe is 132 this year, all 130 something teams. So I think that if he had stayed healthy and had kept at the same pace in those 2 games, won one of the ones he missed, won the Liberty game, thrown for 3,000 yards, which he would have done, maybe about 3,100 yards, and run for over 700 yards, and added more touchdowns obviously to that too, then I think more people would have taken notice and put him a little bit higher. I've seen him, especially on the way too early list, I've seen him ranked as high as the number 1 quarterback. Lately, it seems more and more people are becoming more and more enamored with Daniels at LSU, Jaden Daniels. And I've started to see him a lot more on people's top 10 quarterback lists in the SEC. But you just got to win. And KJ is more than capable. 6'3", 245, got the size, got a good arm. I think Dan Enos will help him as a technician coaching, and we'll see on what kind of play caller he is. But as far as polishing him up a little bit more for the next level, kind of like he did for Brandon Allen, then I think KJ could have a really good year. I think the stretch in the middle that we talk about so much, starting with the LSU game, Texas A&M, Alabama, and Ole Miss, all four, it's not in order, but all 4 of those games in the middle of the season, I think how Arkansas does in that stretch is going to determine, how they do on the season. If they go 2-2, first of all, Arkansas's got a really good football team, because that is a difficult stretch. So they go 2-2 during that stretch. They should start out 3-0, and they've got a chance to finish really strong also. And if they do that, then I could absolutely see KJ as a first-team type at quarterback, which I don't think Arkansas has had since Tyler Wilson.
I think you're right. All right, Froholt, this from our bus text line. Where was he from? Finland, was he not?
Finland, Norway, somewhere. I can't remember exactly, but
yeah, I think Finland is right.
Or,
yeah.
Is it Finland?
Okay. I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. You would have never known that if you'd had to really listen, but Froholt spoke such fluent English that you almost wouldn't know that he, you might have thought he was from Ohio or something, if you were down here. Yeah. But he spoke very, very good English, and really a nice story.
Neat kid. Also. Very neat kid.
Oh, yeah.
Trey, enjoy your vacation.
That's
We
right.
squeezed in as many questions as we could, whether or not they were obvious or not. Thank you, Trey.
Okay. Bye,
all right, hour number 3, straight ahead. Hour number 3 of Drive Time Sports and the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer standing by in Northwest Arkansas. I'm Randy Rainwater from the capital city. Rick, we have a very special guest set to join us. She joined us back, I forget how many months ago now, but several months ago.
Yep, I remember. It's a good interview.
Rachel Barbeau. Rachel, how are you?
Hello, my friends. How are you?
Man, I'm doing wonderful in the heat of the day here in Central Arkansas, but none hotter than the new book you're set to release. Now, as I was reading kind of the capsule, I'm thinking, what? Rachel digs into the deepest hurts and greatest moments of her own story of fear, loss, grief, and addiction, to share examples of both finding and embracing the freedom to pursue and accept joy in our lives by exploring the following.
Yep.
That's big.
Yeah.
That covers a lot of ground.
You know, I lovingly say to people, this ain't a fluffy book on joy. It's a gritty, deep, hard book on joy. And I wanted to write it for the person that's driving around right now and their family has been racked by addiction. I want to write it for the person right now who feels blasted and barren. I want to write it for the person who's divorced or in a custody battle or just lost their job and they can't seem to find their footing or find their joy, much less. I also wanted to write it, y'all, for the people that have got 3 kids and the white picket fence and a great job, but like something's missing, right? Like something's not there. So it's really for a wide swath of people. And I just tell my story. I get really real. As a matter of fact, I was just listening to the Audible version. I got a chance to read it myself, which is a big dream of mine. And I was even sitting here listening to it going, holy crap, Rachel, you told that story. Like, you just told that story about yourself. Oh, my gosh, it's crazy. And so it's quite surreal, my friend.
Why do you think there is so little joy in the most blessed country in the history of the world right now?
I think outside of shows like yours, I think media likes to pit us against each other. I remember not even that long ago, it feels like it was a while back. Remember how we felt as a country after 9/11? There was no Republican and Democrat. There was no this and that. We were just patriotic and we just loved each other and we were proud to be American. And now we're spitting on flags and saying we hate this country, or some people are, and we hate each other. And you believe differently than me. I hate you. And I'm going to go after you on social media. I'm going to smear you. I'm going to cancel you. And so I wrote this book as an antidote to the evil of the world, the brokenness of the world. And now more than ever, guys, and I applaud you two for having me on, former sportscaster, and we've been friends for a long time. I saw you many years in that radio, started out as the radio room and then radio, internet and website room at SEC Media Days. But I wrote this
Icebox. It was not a radio. It was an ice box.
It was freezing. They had it down there, and I like to sleep cool, but I'm not kidding for your listeners. It was probably 60 degrees during the day in there. Like, your icicles would hang off of your nose. But I've known these hosts, since then. And so I just wrote this book because I wrote it for a lot of reasons, but I wrote it largely to give people a guide, a real life guide to saying, you're in it, you're in the emotional quicksand, you're in the blasted and barren place, you're in the struggle bus, you're on it, you can't get off of it. Here's a guide of, I've been there and I want to help you get off of it. I want to help you live your one precious life to the absolute max.
Well, hold on, Randy. Did you even say what the name of the book? What's the name of the book?
I just kind of jumped into the knot.
You did. We're all ready to. We don't even know what the name of it is.
I know her. She's supposed. You're just supposed to know the title. Relentless Joy: Finding Freedom passion and happiness, even when you have to fight for it. Now, I've got to ask this, Rachel, because Rick, if I can paint the proper picture, and you have to understand when Rachel was describing the icebox, which was called the radio, internet, whatever our titles were at that particular time. Rachel, while most of us were setting, Rachel would be by the door. There were two doors, but she always seemed to guess the correct door that the next guest was coming in.
Wow.
So when she said through fear, I'm like, whoa, that's not the Rachel I watched. That is not the Rachel I witnessed. I don't care if it was Nick Saban walking through that door. Rachel was right there, ready to rock. And even Coach Saban would stop and at least acknowledge her. He wouldn't keep on going. Yeah. So I'm questioning, Rachel, when you say fear and then loss, because loss to me means a loved one, something of that nature. But we'll start with the word fear. Please elaborate on, I didn't realize you had fears. You did not seem to have a fear in your bone.
Well, Randy, here's what was happening. I was like the duck on the pond. You saw me on the top of the water. Underneath, I was paddling like hell. You know, I was terrified. And I was in there. I remember the first year I was in there with you guys, I had just been fired. It was right after the economic downturn. And I had just been fired by my radio station for finances, right? Like, it wasn't our ratings. We had great ratings. That was my first, sports talk show. And I remember calling a friend and saying, can you get me a credential? And he said, let me try. And he ended up getting it for me. And I said, listen, I'll do anything for you. I'll take notes. I'll get your coffee. I'll do whatever. I need to be at SEC Media Days because that's where the networking happens. That's where you get jobs. That's where you meet people. That's where all the things. And he said, I don't need a thing. And I said, are you kidding me? You don't need anything? But what happened to me, like a fighter was already in me, but it was like born that day. That first year at SEC Media Days when I met you and you saw me there, I didn't have anybody telling me when to get up, when to be there, anything. But I showed up to those rooms 15 minutes early, and by God, we stayed 30 minutes after. We stayed there in that icebox all day, every day.
Yeah, we
and
did.
it was all men. That was the other thing. It was almost all men in those days. And here I was, and I would stand on a chair in the back of the room, and everybody asked questions at the same time. So only the strong survive. You got to keep talking.
Yeah.
And the coach is looking around. I don't think they do it like that anymore, but that's how they used to do it. And I would stand on a chair in the back of the room, and I would make sure that I got the questions. I got a question in because I was working for my future. I didn't have a job. I was working for my future. I didn't know what I was going to do. And by the end of that first year meeting you guys at SEC Media Days, somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, I cannot help but notice you these past 3-4 days. You have been a bulldog in here. Would you like to come to work for the Tuscaloosa News? And I got a job. I didn't know a soul, and I got a job covering Tuscaloosa and Nick Saban and worked with the great Cecil Hurt.
That's a great story into itself.
Yeah.
Dealing with grief, that to me is, it's so individual, number one, because I'll give you an example. I lost my son back in 2000. And I remember so vividly, even to this day, Rachel, where people would try to tell me how I'm supposed to feel, how I'm supposed to react, those type of things. And I eventually would get around to people and I would say, and I heard this at Ryan Mallett's funeral just the other day, and it was said, don't forget, the grief goes on. You are with them now, but they're going to need you greater in the days to follow when everybody goes back home and they all go back to their life. And here you are still dealing with grief. What is your advice in dealing in grief?
Well, it's you and I have talked about your baby before and your loss, and I felt so honored that you would talk to me about that. And here's the thing I say in the book. So many people are so terrified that they're going to rattle somebody like you, like me, who's lost both my parents and a plethora of other people. So sometimes they don't want to talk about your son. They don't want to talk about my mom because they're scared they're gonna hurt us, or that we're gonna cry or be sad. And I talk about in the book, we want you to talk about your son. We want you to talk about my mom, Gigi. We bring them up, please, because that's the way they stay alive. Their memory stays alive. And dare to wade in those waters with us, in the grief waters with us. You're not gonna break us, right? We want you to do that. So that's one of the big things that I talk about, is being willing to, is just to say, hey, what if you've got a loved one or a friend? Say, when you're grieving, ask them. My husband and I have gone to this. He's never really lost anybody until recently. He just lost his father. He didn't know how to handle my grief, so I had to teach him. Just hold my hand. Just hug me. When you see me cry, just hug me. So you, as the griever, have got to teach other people around you how to treat you when you are grieving, when you're expressing that. Also, there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and it basically says that a lot of trauma in our body leads to chronic illness, meaning if you're sad or you're grieving or whatever, let it out, process it. If I feel it, Randy, I cry, and then I move on with my day. I don't repress it, because repressing it can lead to chronic illness and all sorts of other things. So you, as the griever, have got to teach people how to grieve with you so they can wade in the waters with you. But if you're around Randy, if you're around me, if you're around anybody who's dealt with loss, and if you haven't yet, you're going to, okay? You talk about our people, bring them up, tell stories about them. And so those are just a few of the things that I talk about in grief. And look, they said it correctly. I mean, Ryan, I covered him. You guys, I mean, obviously the relationship you had, my gracious, what happened with him? You think about it, and they nailed it. It's never ending. It's never ending. And it's going to come and it's going to go, and it's like an ocean. And some days it's going to hit you, and some days it's going to be unbearable. And other days you're like, wow, okay, I did it. I made it through another day.
I thought that one of the appropriate comments made by the pastor, his pastor, was he talked about his dying. People say, well, he died before his time. He says, no, he died right on time, because God's got a time for all of us. And that was his time. But I thought in handling the grief, it was amazing when you talk about telling stories. That whole service was stories. It was all stories about Ryan, and they were appropriate to his character as well as humorous. And I don't know how anybody could have left that church feeling gloomy. And now for the family, you're right. They're still going to suffer through some loss, but it was amazing. It was, I thought it was an excellent time to gather and celebrate his life.
Can I say this about that? I say in the book what my own mother, which was the latest loss that I had outside of just recently, but in the book, what I learned with my mother's passing is that we're all walking each other home, right? It's not a question of if you're going to die, it's when you're going to die.
Oh, that's right.
And so I teach people to live this one precious life. One of the things I've been doing recently over the past couple of years that have brought me a lot of comfort is I've been reading about people's near-death experiences. People that literally, thousands and thousands of them died and experienced heaven or God and came back. And I just was listening to one yesterday at the gym, and he had a situation where his brain and his heart stopped working. He died, and he had to have a pacemaker put in. And he said, what I want to tell people is that he's a loving God, and he's radically in love with you, and like he thinks you're a miracle. He created you. And he said, and not to be afraid. He said, he said, I was only there for this long, but it could have been in heaven. It could have been, a million years. Who knows? Right. But he said, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm excited. And he said, when people die, and this blew my mind, he said, I'm sad for the loved ones, but in a way, I know the loved ones are going to experience pain and miss their loved one. But in a way, I'm also rejoicing because I know what that person is experiencing on the other side right now. And that just blew my mind. It gave me so much peace. So if anybody's out there experiencing grief right now, since I wrote the book, I've taken a lot of solace in near-death experiences. And I'll say this, I also have said to people at my service when I go, do the exact same thing it sounds like happened at Ryan. tell stories about me, play great music, and cry and laugh and be together. And that's it. And then eat good food and maybe dance later. And some people might think that's sacrilegious, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. This is something that I think, Rachel, we don't do enough of. Speaking of Ryan Mallett and the service, J.R. Carroll, who was Mallett's longtime attorney and friend, he said that he had a call from Ryan. He said they almost talked every day. And for the first time, Ryan ended the phone call by telling Carroll that he loved him. And JR said, after not responding in kind and signing off on the call, Carroll said he thought hard overnight about Ryan's easy ability to express love and was ready for their phone call the next day. When Ryan wrapped up the call again by saying, I love you, this time, JB said the same back. And the point I'm making, we do not tell our loved ones, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your wife. It doesn't have to necessarily be your son or daughter, whatever it may be. We don't tell that person enough how much we love them. I make it a mission of mine every day, every opportunity, if I'm leaving the house or otherwise, if I'm coming back in the house, I tell my wife I love her.
Because we're not promised another moment. And,
exactly.
And you guys just said it. He didn't go too soon. He went in his time. And there's somebody driving around, they're listening at work right now, and they're like, wow, I didn't know I needed this interview. Because this is hitting them right in the soul, right in the gut, right between the eyeballs. But we don't know. And I talk about it in the book that I'd rather be the person that thinks everything is a big deal versus thinking, oh, well, that's no big deal, right? I'd rather think that things are miraculous and people are miraculous and meetings are miraculous. I'd rather be the person that stops and turns around, and I am, just like you, that turns around and tells an older lady in the grocery store, your eyes are beautiful, or you look beautiful today, or call somebody by their name. And the greatest experience, I don't know, none of us win at this always because none of us are perfect. But when I encounter somebody who's prickly, who's a jerk, right? And your initial response, your human response is just to be a jerk back or just to whatever, not deal with them. But here's the reality. Prickly people need love the most. And so in the moment where I can, when I'm winning, when I'm doing it right, and somebody's short with me and they're at a Starbucks or a fast food place or whatever, and I can take a moment to genuinely compliment them, call them by their name, or say, talk to them genuinely. I will watch people open up like a flower. I'll tell you a very brief story. It's not in the book. I lived in Atlanta and I went to this Publix. I went to Publix all the time, and there was a woman and she was salty, and she was a checkout lady, and she was an older lady. And for whatever reason, I kept going through her line, and I wanted to break her down with kindness. I wanted to finally kill her with kindness. And she kept being salty over and over again. And then one day I was in through her line and I was just loving her. That's it. Loving people and with joy. And finally she said, my adult daughter had a motorcycle accident and has a permanent brain injury. And I have to care for my adult daughter now. And it was like, finally that shell. And I understood why she was so salty with the world. Right. And I just beg of people to understand the saltiest, prickliest people are hurting and need love the most, need joy the most.
All right. The name of the book, once again, Relentless Joy, Finding Freedom, Passion, and Happiness, even when you have to fight for it. Now, when does this launch, or has it already launched, Rachel?
It's launched, and they can go to Amazon. They can go to Amazon right now. You can grab it. It'll be there in like a day or two. You can go to anywhere where books are sold and grab it. But, Amazon's the easiest and fastest or whatever. And at the end of it, I've really been encouraging people to do this. At the end of it, it's got my email. It's got, ways to get in touch with me. You can let me know about the book. I highly recommend people, let me know what your favorite parts were. Find me on social media. I found there was a pastor the other day that left an Audible review for me, and it was the most beautiful thing. Like, he was like, I don't even know who this Rachel Joy Barbeau is, but I love her, and everybody needs to get this book. And so it just said, I'm a pastor. My name's Kenny. And so I put out like a call, like, who are you, Kenny? You know, if anybody knows a pastor the same Kenny, I want to get you a signed copy. And I ended up finding him, or he found me. And so I'm going to get him a signed copy. But yeah, anywhere where books are sold, and I'm telling you, you'll end up, our friend Matt Mosley, he's ended up buying 10 copies for friends. Every time he's like, ooh, that person needs it. That person needs it. That person needs it. Churches are using it for small groups. Women and men are doing book clubs. I've got football teams that are using it to study because it's for men and women. So, yeah, I thank you for having me on. You know, I just adore both of you, and I'm so thankful y'all would have me on to talk about it.
Rachel, you're the best. Good luck.
Y'all
and
are.
if you happen to be in the Arkansas area, be sure and let us know so we want to come and see you again and be there for your book signing. Thank you, Rachel. God bless you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Drive Time Sports will continue. can't give enough attaboys to First Security Bank. They were able, through their fraud department, to detect some questionable activity upon my debit card, and it has been corrected. I now have a new debit card. But thanks to the folks at First Security Bank, because it could have really, really been a bad situation. And I do want to remind you that when we say it's instant issue, I mean instant issue, because I went by the First Security location, if you're familiar with Little Rock up in the Heights, and was able to get my card. I was in, I was out with my new ATM card in over less than 25 minutes, maybe 20. But I got to tell you, I love it because it's safer than cash or checks. It's got quick and easy purchase power. I can use it anywhere. It's real-time account balance and transaction tracking. So thank you, First Security, because you may have saved me a lot of dollars and certainly peace of mind, what you brought to me. That is First Security Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender, only in Arkansas. That's First Security Bank. And I want to take a few minutes of Coach's time before we bring him on, because I've had several questions by way of text and email and through our live fan feedback and Buzz text line. Her name is Rachel Barbeau, and the name of her book is Relentless Joy. Relentless Joy. Finding freedom. I don't know, I keep botching that word. Passion and happiness, even when you have to fight for it. And go to Amazon or to your favorite bookstore. And we are joined, Rick, this is the new head coach, the sixth head coach in the history of Shiloh Christian, Tucker Barnard. Coach, good afternoon. Welcome back.
Randy.
Welcome back to Arkansas.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be back.
I think we forget, at least I did, you were the defensive coordinator there for several years for the Saints.
I was. I had a wonderful time of 7 years at Shiloh Christian, and 6 of those I was the last 6 of those I was defensive coordinator to Josh Floyd, and man, we had a great run, a great bunch of kids, and some really good coaches that and I've been trying to spend my whole career trying to put together a group of guys like that again. So yeah, I'm really excited to be back.
Did you know this happened so fast with Shiloh's coach leaving it? He wasn't looking to leave, evidently, and then a school in Florida called him. The next thing you know, he's gone. Did that pique your interest immediately in seeing that job being vacated?
Well, I tell you, it did, but I was I was a little hesitant myself. I mean, all kind of reasons, but we had great things going at Stillwater High School in Oklahoma.
Yeah, you did.
I literally just built a house in Stillwater, moved in January.
Oh my gosh.
So
wow.
I wasn't I really wasn't thinking too hard about it. It absolutely grabbed my interest, but I just the timing just didn't feel right. Boy, next thing you know, a couple of phone calls and I decided, man, we need to look at this. I mean, just there's so many good things about that school and the church, things that we absolutely love there. I've got 2 young boys. One will be a 7th grader, one will be an 8th grader. So the opportunity to get them back in that school and that church was really exciting to us. We just weren't sure if we could pull it off. But then like I say, a few phone calls and I interviewed last Thursday, and I started work yesterday. So 7 days from interview to starting work, and so it's been pretty fast. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a little inside information Randy doesn't know, but I understand there's a rising quarterback. He may be a 9th grader this year named Beckham Floyd. Do you think there's going to be pressure to play him?
Oh boy, I tell you what, man. I did meet with Nick, and I met Beckham, and here I'll give you one even better. Let's just really get this controversy going. I've got a son in the same grade that plays quarterback too. So yeah, so let's just really get the talk going. But no, we've laughed and about all of that. So it's a great situation. A lot of great football players, a lot of great people. I did actually get to meet Beckham the other day, and awesome young man.
Well, all you have to do is tell Nick, remember when you and Josh were there, they moved you to receiver. So
hey, I tell you now, but I joke, but maybe there's some seriousness in this. I don't even know if I want my son to be a quarterback, right? I mean, there's just so much in that position, and the pressure to play that position well is immense. So I don't know. Any dads that are wishing that on their son, I don't know. I think I caution them to think about it.
What about the indoor facility they're building there? How much did that impact your decision?
No, it's a beautiful facility. There's no doubt about that. I think the way that really impacts a decision is just shows you a little bit about the vision that they have there, and that we want to do things in an excellent way, and there's obviously support to do great things. But they've done an amazing job. It's not finished yet, but it's a beautiful facility and a beautiful weight room and offices and locker rooms and a wrestling room, and obviously the turf. So really looking forward to that. I mean, it just allows you to be really moving forward year round.
Because the Arkansas rules on private schools, you're having to play schools. Shiloh's moved up in category, having to play schools that are a lot more heavily populated than Shiloh. How difficult is it to compete at that level?
Oh, I mean, of course it's difficult, but I love the challenge. I mean, we're excited about it. I can't wait to get back over and jump in with that. I mean, we want to play great schools, a great competition. I felt that way when I was at Shiloh the first time. I felt that way when I was at Stillwater. I really think that's how you improve and improve your program. I mean, we say iron sharpens iron, and so we want to play great people. I think that's important. So, is it a challenge? I think it'll be a great challenge, but it's one that we lean into and we're excited about.
Okay, so Randy didn't tell me you were going to be on here. So in full disclosure, I am a cross church member, and I've known Nick Floyd since he was a little kid. So that's how I knew that about Beckham. The other thing I need to tell you is it's been many, many years ago, probably before you were born, but I went to school at Oklahoma State University, and I've never known Stillwater High School to be a power in the state of Oklahoma. How did you do that?
Oh man, a lot of blessings from the Lord. For one, we had great players. We had still have great players. We have great coaches. I'll tell you. I mean, there were some specific things that we did that I think really kind of pushed us along and furthered us pretty quickly. But we really went down and put a lot of effort into the youth program. We put a lot of effort into our junior high program. We put a lot of effort into our JV football team. I could give you some specifics. I don't want to bore everybody with it, but there are specific decisions that we made going back 10 years now that just started setting the table, and so we kind of tried to build. I mean, every job I've ever had, I'll tell you this, my dad taught me this, and I believe it. Every job I've ever had, I've tried to approach it as if I'm going to be there forever for the rest of my career. So we didn't go in trying to figure out how to win in 1 year. we absolutely wanted to win the first year, and we did. But at the same time, we implemented things at the lower levels, and then we kind of rode that success up through the program. And I really believe that we've set that program up where they can be successful for a long time by implementing systems at the lower levels that just continue to roll into the high school program.
Coach, I've got to inject this in real quick. This from our Asher Record Service Company live feed feedback. Chris says, please tell Coach Stillwater will miss his family, especially that old grump, Casey Kendrick. Coach will get a kick out of that.
That's great. Oh my gosh, yeah. Casey Kendrick is our. First of all, I'll just say he's a great friend of mine, and his wife is a great friend of ours, and our dentist. And Casey has a son, Talon Kendrick, who's one of the best football players over there at Stillwater in that program. And then Casey is the local TV guy. He owns a television station there in town. So they do our live streams and all those kind of things. And he's a great man, great friend, incredible friend, family.
Expectations. If you step into Shallow, if you step into Pulaski Academy, and I can name off some other powerhouses, Warren High School, and the list could go on. So I'll stop there before I leave someone out. Do you feel those expectations, Tucker, when you stepped onto that campus, that you have got a great legacy now that you've got to live up to?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. And I think that's one of the things that draws me and others like me. It draws us there. Those expectations, they drive us. I mean, we really feed on that. There's no doubt that expectation exists. They don't apologize for that expectation. We're trying to be the best, and we're going to do everything that we can do to be the best. We're going to work as long as we need to. We're going to work as hard as we need to. We're going to we're just not going to leave any stone unturned to be as good as we can possibly be. And our kids feel that way. Our coaches feel that way. Our parents feel that way. Our administrators feel that way. That's what drives it there.
Tucker, good luck to you, my friend. Thank you for taking time out for us.
Thank you.
Drive Time Sports here on the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater. We welcome you back. Rick, I want to read just a little bit. Oh, by the way, John sent this in by way of our Asher Record Service Company live feedback. Froholt is from Denmark. We had him from Finland. He said
Denmark.
The internet
Internet
is amazing. You should try it. Took 10 seconds. Well,
we do that usually. I did remember him as being from Finland, but Denmark is, if they say that's right, that's
true.
right.
That is very true. Yeah. I want to read some of the, I doubt at this moment Rachel is listening wherever she may be. But just to give you a sample of some of the stuff that I've been receiving. This is, I don't know. She is from, this is from the 501. Ton of wisdom inside that woman. She was an awesome guest. Thank you for having her on. And previously 501 and said, is this girl married? I'll marry her tonight. Sight unseen. Very attractive young lady as well. But she is married, so can't help you there. This one, okay, come on, load. Our bus text line didn't always load the fastest. Just tuned in. What is the name of her book? I like her. Relentless Joy, Finding Freedom, Passion, and Happiness. And let's see, where's some of the others that I got on here? I can't find them at the exact moment, but just a couple of items we got feedback wise concerning Rachel Barbeau is her name. And hopefully you'll get a chance, if you so desire, to get her book. And I think we can all benefit from reading her book. And I had to ask her in particular about that part, Rick, when she said, or at least in the cover that I got, when it said about fear. I'm like, what? You don't have there's not a bone in your body. I mean, if a grizzly bear walked through that door and you had a question for that grizzly bear, you'd ask it. So
she's not nervous around Nick Saban. Who in the world would she be nervous around?
No, that's
right?
true. That is very true. So that was enjoyable talking with her. And we have missed her at media days because if there was ever a dull moment, or I say dull moment, you know, sometimes you'll get into a group setting like that and you think, okay, there's going to be, you know, question after question after question. There'll be lulls. Not with Rachel in the room, because, you know, I don't know if she made up questions or not, but she certainly was not afraid to ask a question. I have not been able to. Now, I'm watching ESPN. I thought now was supposed to be in the game.
I thought you said it was on at 6 o'clock. Maybe it's 7 o'clock.
Must be Charlotte. I mean, right now it's Houston and Portland playing, and I thought it was supposed to have been Charlotte and San Antonio. So
because that was the big deal, because San Antonio had the guy from France that everybody's absolutely raving, everybody but Navy Mike, as everybody's raving about. And so I thought you were going to say
Taylor Swift.
No. Oh, she doesn't like him either?
You didn't hear about that out in Vegas?
No.
That was Britney Spears.
Britney Spears.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Britney Spears.
Yeah,
okay.
I did hear about that. But
I'm sorry, Kyle. I'm not hip on that
I wouldn't
stuff.
know if it wasn't for Twitter. That's
okay.
I don't keep up with that kind of stuff.
I do know the difference between Britney Spears and Taylor Swift.
Well, the funny thing was he didn't even know who he referred to her as that girl, but that makes sense that he doesn't know, because she really hasn't been that relevant in a long time, and he's from France and he's young. So
right, that's right. But anyway, this is supposed to be his debut. Where's the game being played?
It's in Vegas.
Okay, well, they're an hour different from us. They're an hour later, so maybe it's 6 o'clock Vegas time, which would be 7 o'clock our time.
Well, they're only in the second quarter, so this would have to hurry up and get over.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless it's going to be on a different channel. I thought it was going to be on ESPN.
Well, let's see. ESPN 2, it's not on there. ESPN 3, nope. I mean, ESPN 2 has cornhole. That's on TV? Oh my gosh, there it is. I mean, it's a nice game, but you're televising cornhole.
We got to come up with some programming ideas, Rick. We can make a lot of money, apparently.
Well, think about this. I guess they got ESPN. They don't even have ESPN Classic anymore, so they still have ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, and ESPN News. So that's 4 stations that they've got to have programming for. And so that's why I guess you can watch poker some nights and you can watch cornhole. I've never seen cornhole on TV before, so wow.
All right, you may or may not have seen this particular story. And I saw the headline on Saturday Down South, something about Kirby Smart needs to protect the integrity or something like that of Georgia. And I'm like, I should have read the story.
Oh, that another guy driving 88
Yeah.
to 55 zone.
Yeah. This is a freshman outside linebacker, Samuel Mpiba. He was ticketed Wednesday morning, 88 miles per hour in a 55-mile zone. Earlier, Marcus Rosemy Jasaint appeared in Athens courthouse, pleaded guilty to driving 90 in a 45-mile per zone.
Yeah.
And they'd already had the issue back about the accident in which there was the loss of life that the big defensive lineman.
Yeah.
I mean, what is this with that and Jalen Carter's who I'm talking about? I don't get it. What's going on down in Georgia? Are they running from the bootleggers or something?
Well, I don't know. Thunder Road, right? I don't know, but they like to drive fast. The guys who play football at Georgia like to drive fast. Maybe they're all NASCAR fans. I don't know.
All right, let's talk to Stan. Stan, good afternoon.
Yes, sir. How you doing now, Randy?
You know your Bulldogs are trying to run away from the title this year. They're going to get all in the pokey over drag racing or speeding.
I heard that, man. What's up, Rick?
How are you, Stan?
I'm doing all right. Hey, man, look
Great.
here. I think they're going to. Now, this is my prediction. What Georgia ranked? Number 2? They ranked number 1 or 2?
One. Most
ranked number 1?
Almost every poll I've seen, 1.
Okay. Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Hey, I know y'all going to look at me funny. But
I can't see you, though, mate. I can't see you, Stan.
We'd like to.
I can't see you.
Hey,
Will you call me on FaceTime and then I'll put your audio on the air just so I can see you?
Now I'm gonna meet y'all in person. How about that? That's even better.
That's even better.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, I think Rick Saban run over for a little while. I think them boys. I think that Steel Curtain gonna show up again. I think that Steel Curtain defense gonna show up again this year, and they gonna 3-peat. What y'all thinking about that, brother? Y'all have a good evening.
I think Georgia's going to 3-peat. I don't know. That is so hard to do. And, you can recruit the best quarterback, and we know how important the quarterback is. And Georgia's recruited some of the best quarterbacks. But it's a walk-on, a former walk-on, that ends up getting them 2 national championships.
Right.
So what if they go out and get the greatest high school quarterback there is, but he's not as good as what they had? Stetson Bennett. So who knows? Alabama's got a new quarterback. Obviously, they're recruiting good players, and so you figure whoever their quarterback is going to be pretty good, but there's no guarantee, right? That's why you got to feel good about Arkansas this year with a guy that's in his 3rd year starter at quarterback.
Well, the SEC, this is from Athlon. They rated the top 25 players for the 2023 season. And they started at number 1 with the tight end. And this guy arguably is maybe the best tight end in the entire country. And that's Brock Bowers. He is that good. He is a 6 foot, 230-pound tight end with 4.5 speed. Harold Perkins, a linebacker for LSU, is number 2. You got to drop all the way down to number 7 before you find KJ Jefferson, number 8, Rocket Sanders. But nowhere among the top 10 is a quarterback listed for Georgia. And then you can even go to the top 25. There's no quarterback for Georgia. That is a major concern to repeat or
Has to
three-peat.
be. You bet.
Have a great weekend. So long, everybody.